Have you ever wondered why the one you long for seems just out of reach, as if the universe is holding them back from you, when in truth it is your own inner world that calls or repels them? Attract your specific person instantly is not a matter of chasing, pleading, or waiting. It is the art of standing in the end, of wearing the feeling of deep love manifestation as naturally as you wear your own skin. Manifest love is not a technique you perform once. It is a state you inhabit, as constant and unshakable as the breath in your lungs. When you dare to believe that the one you desire is already yours, the law of assumption love moves mountains to reflect it in your world. There is no delay except the one you impose by seeing yourself as separate from the desire fulfilled. To attract specific person fast, you must first remove the invisible wall between me and them in your imagination. Love manifestation techniques are not about forcing. They are about allowing what already exists in the unseen to flood into the seen. The instant you assume the truth of your union, the world begins to rearrange itself in your favor. Neville Goddard love teachings are clear. The outer is the mirror of the inner. If you hold the image of being loved, cherished, and chosen in your imagination, the physical world cannot help but echo it back to you. This is the great secret. Manifest relationship instantly is not about convincing them. It is about convincing yourself until it becomes so real you forget it is an assumption. And then, without warning, life will present them to you in the most natural, effortless way. Every time you dwell on their absence, you are practicing separation. Every time you see them in your mind's eye already with you, speaking to you, touching you, loving you, you are practicing union. It is your choice which state you live in, and the state you occupy becomes the fact you experience. Let the world catch up to the inner reality you have claimed. If you want SP manifestation success, you must learn to see them as already committed to you in the unseen realm. Let the love manifestation rampage begin, not as a desperate grasping, but as an overflowing certainty. Feel them texting you, hear their voice in your mind, smile at the inner scene as if it were happening now. Instant manifestation love happens not through doubt, but through an unbroken chain of inner acceptance. When you attract love energy, it is not through manipulation, but through self-possession. You become magnetic when you live from the reality that you are already chosen. Whisper to yourself the Neville Goddard affirmations for love until they are no longer affirmations, but living truths. See yourself walking with them, holding hands, feeling the warmth of a partner instantly beside you. Manifesting a partner instantly is not about rushing time. It is about collapsing the distance between desire and fulfillment in your own awareness. The law of attraction specific person response is automatic once the inner scene is solidified. Powerful love manifestation methods are simply the disciplined refusal to accept anything less than the reality you choose. When you manifest your soulmate, you are not pulling them into your world. They were already there in potential, waiting for you to acknowledge them. This is deep connection manifestation, not the creation of love, but the recognition of its ever-present reality. Live from the end, breathe it, sleep in it, and the world will unfold accordingly. Imagination creates reality is not a poetic phrase. It is the foundation upon which all experiences rest. The world you move through each day is nothing more than the arrangement of your inner pictures, inner words, and inner moods brought into solid form. Every conversation you have with yourself, every image you allow to linger in your mind, is a seed. Those seeds do not remain in the soil of thought. They grow into the events, circumstances, and relationships you later call reality. To understand this truth is to take full authorship of your life, for nothing enters your experience that did not first receive an invitation through your inner state. If you desire a specific person, the most important realization you can have is that they do not exist out there. separate from you. They live within your consciousness as a collection of meanings, images, and emotional associations you hold about them. The theme you experience is shaped entirely by the mental pictures and emotional tones you consistently entertain. This means if you change those inner images, if you choose to see them in a loving, committed union with you, you alter the only place they truly exist, your mind. And because the outer world is nothing more than the crystallized projection of that mind, they will, in time, reflect the new version you have chosen to dwell upon. Most people live as prisoners of appearances. They believe that what their eyes see and ears hear is final and unchangeable. They look at the physical behavior of their desired person, see disinterest or distance, and allow that image to dominate their inner world. In doing so, they unknowingly command reality to keep giving them more of the same. Imagination creates reality, means you no longer let the current facts dictate the truth. You decide what is true inwardly, and the outer world must follow. This is not fantasy or daydreaming in the weak sense. It is a deliberate act of creation. When you imagine, you are not merely entertaining possibilities. You are shaping the blueprint that reality will later copy. To attract your specific person instantly, you must imagine in a way that feels as real, if not more real, than what your senses report. You must hear their voice speaking to you words of love and affection. You must see their eyes looking at you with warmth and recognition. You must feel the weight of their hand in yours, the rhythm of your steps as you walk together, the comfort of their presence beside you. And you must not treat this as pretend. You must accept it as the truth of your life now, in this moment, even if no physical evidence yet exists. Why does this work? Because the mind and the world are not two separate entities. They are the same field expressing itself at different densities. Thought is the invisible cause, and the world is the visible effect. What you consistently hold in thought saturates your state of being, and that state of being becomes magnetic to matching experiences. This is why random imagining produces random results, but disciplined imagining produces specific results. When you understand that you are the source of all appearances, you stop waiting for outer change to give you permission to feel fulfilled. You feel fulfilled first, and the change follows as naturally as a shadow follows the body. Imagination is not limited to idle moments. Every interaction you have with your specific person in your mind is an act of creation. Every time you replay a memory of rejection, you are planting it anew. Every time you rehearse a scene of love and connection, you are planting that instead. The choice is entirely yours. If you are serious about attracting your specific person instantly, you will treat your imagination as sacred ground and guard it from unwanted images. You will refuse to indulge in any mental scene that contradicts the reality you have claimed. This process requires persistence, for the mind is accustomed to reflecting the past. At first, you may find the old images trying to dominate your attention. Do not fight them in frustration. Simply replace them with the scene you prefer. See it, feel it, hear it, until it becomes natural to dwell there. In time, the old images fade from disuse, and the new reality becomes effortless to inhabit. That is when the outer begins to shift, often in ways so seamless you forget you ever imagined it deliberately. To live this way is to become a conscious creator. It is to step out of the role of a passive observer and into the role of the one who shapes. The relationship you desire is already formed in the invisible, waiting for you to align with it. Your specific person is already yours, in the only place that matters, the state you occupy. When you understand that imagination creates reality, you no longer fear delay or loss. You know the moment you claim it within, it begins to express without. The outer may take time to catch up, but the inner is instantaneous, and it is the inner that is the cause. This is the great secret. Change your inner world, and the outer has no choice but to follow. Living in the end is the discipline of standing in the reality you desire, as if it were already accomplished. Regardless of what the physical world currently shows you, it is the deliberate act of assuming the final state of your wish fulfilled and refusing to mentally step out of it. This is not wishful thinking or pretending. It is the conscious choice to inhabit the only place creation exists, the present moment infused with the feeling of the fulfilled desire. The mind does not wait for outer confirmation. It gives itself confirmation now, and in doing so, it sets in motion the unseen forces that shape the visible. When you live in the end of a loving relationship with your specific person, you are not waiting for them to change or for circumstances to align. You are claiming that change has already occurred in the unseen, and you are conducting yourself accordingly. You feel the security of being chosen. You respond to life from the position of one who is already loved. You carry the quiet confidence of a person whose desire is no longer in question. This inner positioning is what draws the outer world into harmony with your vision. It is not the world convincing you. It is you convincing the world. The reason most fail in attracting love is because they live in the middle rather than the end. They keep their attention fixed on the process, asking when or how it will happen. They are constantly measuring the distance between themselves and their goal, rehearsing the obstacles, and reinforcing the separation. Living in the end removes that distance completely. You stop thinking about getting into the relationship and instead dwell in the awareness that you already are in it. The tone of your inner conversations shifts from longing to gratitude, from uncertainty to certainty. You stop saying, "I want them to love me," and you begin saying, silently but powerfully, "I am so grateful for the love we share." This state must be felt deeply, for feeling is the bridge between thought and reality. Words alone, without conviction, are empty. To live in the end is to feel the texture of the desired state as if it were here now. If you desire their affection, you feel it in the warmth of their embrace in your mind's eye. If you desire their commitment, you sense the solidity of it in the way they look at you in your inner scene. These feelings are not to be postponed until something happens. They are the cause of the happening. When the feeling of fulfillment is consistent within you, the outer must eventually reflect it. For the outer has no choice but to mirror the dominant inner state. Living in the end also means letting go of the need to monitor every step along the way. You do not plant a seed and then dig it up every few hours to check if it is growing. You plant it, water it with your attention and persistence, and trust the process. Likewise, when you assume the end, you no longer seek signs with desperation. You no longer beg for validation from your specific person or from circumstances. The assumption itself becomes the proof. The knowing that it is done is all the evidence you require. This calm assurance is magnetic, for it radiates stability and certainty, qualities that naturally draw others to you. In this state, even if appearances seem to contradict your desire, you are unmoved. You do not argue with the evidence of the senses. You simply do not accept it as final. You understand that the physical world is slow, moving, and must eventually bend to the image you have made real within yourself. You treat current circumstances as outdated reflections, knowing the new reflection is already forming. You do not complain about the delay because you no longer live in time as it relates to your desire. You live in the eternal now, where the desire is already complete. The beauty of living in the end is that it transforms you instantly. Even before the relationship appears outwardly, you begin to think, feel, and act as the person who already has it. This shifts your energy, your body language, your choices, and your interactions. You naturally begin to behave in ways that align with the love you desire, and without conscious effort, you send signals that invite its manifestation. It is not manipulation. It is the organic result of inhabiting the desired state so fully that it spills over into every aspect of your being. The moment you choose to live in the end, you stop searching for love because you realize you are already living from it. You no longer wait for a text, a call, or a confession to feel whole. You stop letting the outer dictate your inner, and instead let the inner dictate the outer. This is the true reversal of cause and effect, where you acknowledge that the end exists now, and that your only task is to remain faithful to it until it becomes visible. The physical arrival of your specific person is not the beginning of the relationship. It is merely the echo of what you have already lived inwardly. And because you have lived it so completely within, when it arrives without, it feels not like a miracle, but like the most natural thing in the world. Inner conversations shape outer reality because the mind is never silent. Even when your lips are still, your thoughts are speaking, and the world listens to that voice more closely than it listens to your words. The scenes you rehearse in your imagination, the tone of the mental dialogues you hold, and the emotional atmosphere in which those conversations take place are the true architects of your experience. What you whisper to yourself in the privacy of your mind is not idle. It is a direct command to the creative power that governs all manifestation. When you desire a loving relationship with your specific person, your inner conversations about them are either building that reality or dismantling it. Every time you mentally speak to them with warmth, affection, and certainty, you are planting seeds of union. Every time you argue with them in your head, doubt their feelings, or replay scenes of absence, you are planting seeds of separation. These seeds, invisible at first, grow into the tangible events and interactions you later encounter. The connection between thought and reality is exact and unwavering, and your inner conversations are the bridge. Consider how naturally the mind replays unwanted moments. Without any deliberate effort, you might recall a past disagreement, imagining again what was said and how it made you feel. That mental replay is a fresh planting of the same event. If instead you take control and deliberately imagine a scene of harmony, mutual attraction, and closeness, you are planting something entirely new. This shift is not about ignoring reality, but about understanding that reality is not fixed. It is a mirror that reflects the inner conversation most often repeated. The tone of your inner voice matters as much as the words themselves. You can speak words of love internally, but lace them with uncertainty, fear, or longing, and those emotions will dilute the power of the scene. The feeling behind the conversation is what imprints upon your subconscious. If you want to attract your specific person instantly, you must learn to speak inwardly as one who is already in the relationship, not as one who is still trying to get there. This means your mental tone must carry the calm confidence of fulfillment, the relaxed joy of a desire already attained. Shaping your inner conversation is a discipline, especially if you have allowed it to run on autopilot for years. At first, you may catch yourself mid-thought, noticing that you are imagining something contrary to your desire. This is not a failure, it is an opportunity. In that moment, you can stop, shift, and replace the scene with one that matches your chosen reality. If you desire them to be attentive, imagine them calling you with affection in their voice. If you desire them to be committed, imagine hearing their words of devotion and seeing their consistent presence. Repeat this until it becomes second nature, until you find yourself returning to the same loving scene without conscious effort. What makes this practice powerful is that the subconscious does not distinguish between what is physically happening and what is vividly imagined. To the deeper mind, the scene you rehearse with feeling is already real, and the outer world must conform to that accepted truth. This is why people who dwell on rejection often find it repeating, and why those who dwell on love often find it growing. The inner conversation is the script, and the outer reality is simply the performance of that script. It is important to recognize that this shaping of inner dialogue extends beyond moments when you are deliberately visualizing. Throughout your day, in ordinary situations, your mind is still speaking. While walking, working, or resting, you might imagine casual exchanges with your specific person. These moments are fertile ground. Rather than letting the mind wander into scenes of absence or uncertainty, use them to reinforce the relationship you have chosen. Imagine them beside you, speaking to you, looking at you in a way that confirms the bond. Let these scenes become so familiar that they feel like memories rather than imaginations. When you consistently maintain loving and affirming inner conversations, you begin to notice subtle shifts in your outer world. You may feel more secure, more open, and more magnetic. Encounters with your specific person may carry a new warmth or synchronicity. Even if they are not physically present yet, you sense their nearness, because in your inner world, they never left. The power lies in your willingness to hold these inner conversations steady until the outer has no choice but to match them. The moment you understand that every word and image in your mind is a cause in motion, you become careful with your mental speech. You stop indulging in inner arguments or scenes of neglect because you see them for what they are, orders to recreate that very reality. Instead, you choose conversations that feel like the end fulfilled, not because you are forcing change, but because you know that change is inevitable once the inner state is secured. The outer world is nothing but a stage, and your inner conversation is the playwright. To change the play, you change the script within, and soon the performance must follow. Persistence is the secret, because creation is not a single moment of inspiration, but the steady repetition of a chosen state until it becomes the only reality you know. Many will imagine a scene once, feel a spark of joy, and then return to their old patterns of doubt and longing. They wonder why nothing changes, unaware that they are abandoning their desire each time they let the old story take root again. Persistence is the act of standing in your assumed reality regardless of appearances, refusing to let the senses dictate your conviction. It is the deliberate choice to hold your inner vision so firmly that it begins to feel natural, as though it has always been true. When you seek to manifest a loving relationship with your specific person, persistence means you do not measure your success by daily outer evidence. You may not see them call, text, or appear exactly as you wish in the beginning, yet you hold fast to the inner image of being with them. You do not let the absence of physical proof shake the certainty of your inner world. Every day, you return to the same inner scene of love fulfilled, and every day, you feel the same satisfaction as though it were happening now. This repeated acceptance saturates your subconscious, and once the subconscious is convinced, the outer must obey. Persistence is not strain, it is stability. It is not a frantic forcing of the mind, but a calm returning to the desired state again and again. Imagine the way water shapes stone, not through a single forceful strike, but through constant, gentle flow. Each time you rehearse your chosen reality, you are shaping the structure of your mind, smoothing away the jagged edges of disbelief. Over time, the new state becomes so familiar that it feels more real than the world outside. And when that point is reached, the outside begins to match without resistance. This constancy is what transforms imagination from a fleeting daydream into the blueprint of life. Without persistence, even the most vivid image fades. The mind will default to its habitual patterns if not directed. Old doubts will resurface, and the senses will tempt you to believe in the absence of your desire. But if you are steadfast, if you treat every contrary thought as an invitation to re-enter your chosen scene, the old pattern will lose its power. In time, it will vanish entirely, replaced by the new reality you have cultivated with unwavering attention. Persistence also means holding your state through emotional shifts. There may be moments of impatience, frustration, or even hopelessness. These do not signal failure unless you let them take root. The key is to acknowledge them without surrendering your position. When doubt arises, see it as a passing cloud and return to the sunlit feeling of fulfillment. The mind's old conditioning will try to pull you back to the familiar, but persistence is the refusal to be moved. Even when emotions waver, you choose the inner truth over the outer illusion. This steadfastness creates a compounding effect. Each repetition of your desired state strengthens it, making it easier to return the next time. Eventually, it becomes effortless, like slipping into a well-worn path. The more natural it feels, the faster it impresses itself upon the subconscious. The subconscious responds not to effort, but to the conviction born of familiarity. When a scene is lived within so often that it feels like a memory rather than a wish, it has already been accepted as reality, and the outer must reflect it. Think of persistence as tending a fire. At first, the flames need constant attention, fuel, and care to keep them alive. If neglected, they fade. But once the fire is strong, it generates its own heat and light with minimal effort. Your inner vision is the same. In the beginning, you must consciously feed it, return to it in thought, feel it as often as possible, and protect it from the winds of doubt. Over time, it will burn on its own, and you will find yourself living in the certainty of your desire without deliberate effort. Those who master persistence understand that the outer world is always a lagging reflection of the inner. They do not demand instant proof, because they know the proof is already secured within. They do not abandon their vision because of a temporary appearance. They remain faithful to the unseen, knowing it will inevitably be seen. Persistence is the quiet power behind every true manifestation, the invisible thread that holds the image together until it solidifies into form. Without it, even the most beautiful desire will dissolve into nothing. With it, even the most impossible vision will become the most natural part of your life. The state of being you dwell in matters more than any technique you apply, because it is the state, not the method, that shapes your experience. A technique is only as effective as the state from which it is performed. You can repeat affirmations, visualize scenes, or write intentions all day. But if you are doing so from a place of lack, desperation, or doubt, the energy you are radiating will match those inner conditions. The outer world is not responding to the mechanical act of a practice. It is responding to the living vibration of who you are being in this moment. When you desire to attract a specific person, the first and most important task is to assume the state of already having what you want. This is not about pretending or faking happiness. It is about moving your awareness into the reality where your wish is fulfilled and allowing yourself to genuinely feel the emotions of that fulfilled state. The state of being in love, secure, and chosen is magnetic. It naturally draws experiences, people, and circumstances that match its frequency. It does not strain or chase. It simply attracts because it is already aligned. Techniques can help you access this state, but they are not the cause. They are tools, and like any tool, their effectiveness depends on the hand that wields them. Two people can visualize the same scene, one with conviction and joy, the other with doubt and longing, and they will produce entirely different results. The difference lies in the state each person occupies while performing the act. One is being the fulfilled self. The other is being the unfulfilled self, trying to become fulfilled. The outer world will faithfully mirror the inner state, not the outer appearance of action. Living in the desired state means you no longer think and act like someone who is waiting for change. You think, feel, and behave as someone who is already living the change. If your state is one of being loved and wanted, You do not need to prove yourself, compete for attention, or question your worth. You carry yourself differently. Your tone, your energy, your interactions all reflect the calm confidence of a person who knows they are chosen. This shift is often so subtle that others cannot name it, yet they feel it and respond to it. The challenge for many is that they try to use techniques to escape a negative state rather than to deepen into a desired one. They affirm, "I am loved," while still feeling unloved, hoping the words will eventually override the emotion. But the subconscious responds to the feeling behind the words, not the words themselves. If you want your affirmations to work, you must first touch the feeling of what it would be like if they were already true. This feeling is the state, and once you have entered it, the words reinforce rather than contradict it. Changing your state is not always about a sudden burst of euphoria. Sometimes it is as simple as softening into the idea that it is already done, allowing yourself to relax into the ease of fulfillment. You may begin by imagining the smallest details, a glance, a touch, a shared moment, that naturally belong to your fulfilled relationship. As you repeat this process, the state becomes more familiar until it is your natural resting place. You no longer have to try to feel it. It becomes who you are. From this place, techniques become effortless and joyful. Visualization feels like a pleasant remembering, not a forced invention. Affirmations feel like statements of fact, not hopeful wishes. Even silence becomes powerful, for your state is speaking for you at all times. Those around you can sense it without a word being said. The person you desire feels it in subtle ways, as the energy you radiate reaches them beyond physical interaction. Remaining in the desired state requires awareness. You must notice when you slip into an old state of lack or uncertainty and gently return to the chosen state. This is not about perfection, but about consistency. The more often you choose to return to the fulfilled self, the stronger that state becomes, until it is your default way of being. And once it becomes your default, the outer world has no choice but to conform to it. Ultimately, it is not the number of hours you spend visualizing, writing, or repeating affirmations that determines your results. It is the state of being you carry through your days. That state is your true manifestation power. Techniques are the doorways you step through, but the state is the house you live in. If the house is built on fulfillment, love, and certainty, everything that enters it will reflect those qualities. This is why mastering your state is more important than mastering any technique, for once the state is right, everything else aligns naturally. Faith in the unseen is the ability to accept as true what your senses cannot yet confirm. To know with certainty that the reality you have claimed inwardly exists now, even though no physical evidence has appeared. It is the quiet confidence that the unseen cause you have set in motion will inevitably take shape in the visible world. Faith is not blind hope or wishful thinking. It is inner knowing, a deep alignment with the truth of your desire, as if it were already here. Without this inner certainty, the mind will continually waver, pulled back into the gravitational pull of what is currently visible. But with faith, you stand firm, unmoved by appearances, because you understand that appearances are only the echo of past states, not the voice of present creation. When you desire a relationship with a specific person, faith in the unseen means you do not need their current actions or words to convince you of the bond you already hold within. They may be distant, silent, or even seemingly uninterested, but you do not allow those conditions to define reality for you. You define reality from the inner world, where the two of you are already united in love. You trust that the physical reflection will catch up, and because you trust, you are free from the anxiety, desperation, and doubt that would otherwise sabotage your manifestation. This calm assurance is not forced. It comes from repeatedly returning to the inner scene until it becomes so natural that the lack of outer evidence cannot disturb you. Faith is a choice made in every moment. The senses will present you with evidence that seems to contradict your desire, and in those moments you must decide whether to accept the outer as final or to remain loyal to the unseen. Many lose faith because they look to the world for proof before they have established it within themselves. They want to see before they believe, but manifestation demands that you believe before you see. The outer world has no creative power of its own. It can only reflect the conviction you have already established within. This loyalty to the unseen is not about ignoring the outer world, but about interpreting it correctly. If you encounter circumstances that appear contrary to your desire, you recognize them as remnants of old assumptions, like the last light of a setting sun. They have no power to alter the new reality you are building, unless you give them that power by accepting them as truth. Faith means you treat these appearances as temporary shadows, knowing they will dissolve as the new state takes hold. Holding faith also shifts your emotional state. Instead of feeling restless or impatient, you feel steady and composed. You stop checking constantly for signs, because you no longer need them to reassure you. The inner knowing is the reassurance. This lack of grasping energy actually accelerates manifestation, because you are no longer sending out vibrations of lack. You are radiating the completeness of someone who already possesses what they desire, and that completeness is irresistible. To cultivate faith, you must feed it daily. This does not mean obsessively rehearsing the desire, but rather reaffirming its reality when the mind drifts into doubt. You might pause for a moment, recall the feeling of your fulfilled relationship, and let it settle into you. Over time, this practice builds an unshakable foundation, even if days, weeks, or months pass without visible change. Your conviction remains untouched. The absence of outer evidence becomes irrelevant because you are already living in the evidence within. Faith in the unseen also frees you from the tyranny of time. When you truly believe something is already done, you stop wondering when it will happen. Time loses its grip on you because your focus is on the now, where your desire exists in full. You no longer push, rush, or try to control the process. You allow the unfolding to happen naturally, knowing that the moment of physical manifestation is already appointed and inevitable. This surrender is not passive, it is the active confidence of someone who knows the outcome cannot be otherwise. This kind of faith transforms your relationship with the entire process of manifestation. Instead of riding an emotional roller coaster of hope and disappointment, you remain steady from beginning to end. You begin to notice subtle signs of alignment, not because you are hunting for them, but because they simply appear in the flow of your life. Encounters, conversations, and synchronicities happen without effort, and you recognize them as natural outgrowths of the inner reality you have been faithful to. In the end, faith in the unseen is the anchor that holds you in place when the waves of outer circumstances try to shake you. It is the invisible thread that connects the seed you plant in imagination to the fruit you will one day hold in your hands. It is not something you wait to feel until you see results. It is something you choose to feel now, in the absence of results, because you understand that the unseen is the cause, and the seen is only its delayed effect. When faith becomes your natural state, manifestation is no longer a struggle. It is the inevitable flowering of what you have already accepted as true. Every word spoken, every image held, every feeling sustained within has been leading to one truth. You are not at the mercy of the outer world. You are its source. The love you desire, the connection you long for, and the relationship you envision with your specific person are not distant possibilities. They are present realities in the unseen, waiting for your unwavering acceptance. By living in the end, shaping your inner conversations, persisting in your chosen state, embodying the energy you wish to receive, and holding unshakable faith in what cannot yet be seen, you align yourself with the creative power that brings all things into form. This is not about forcing, chasing, or convincing. It is about claiming, allowing, and being. You are never separated from the love you seek. It exists within you now, in the invisible realm of your imagination. And the moment you choose to dwell there without compromise, the outer world must follow. The delay is only the time it takes for your inner conviction to solidify, and once it does, nothing can prevent its manifestation. So let the outer be what it will for now. Let the senses report what they may. Your work is not to react to the old reflection, but to remain loyal to the new truth you have chosen. Stand in the certainty of your fulfillment. Feel the reality of your love, and let that state be the air you breathe. In doing so, you will see the most natural unfolding of events lead you straight into the arms of the one you have always known was yours. And when it happens, you will recognize it not as a miracle, but as the inevitable expression of who you decided to be within.